All right, everybody, welcome to First and Bro, the podcast for Dolphin fans by Dolphin fans. We are your hosts. I am Alex Dominguez. We have Mike Dominguez, Victor Rojas, and Gus Jr. Dominguez. This show is brought to you by Varadero, where you get everything from Bustelo to Agua de Violeta. Vaya. Oye, guys, what's up?
What's up, man? This is awesome.
Wear this hat or maybe this hat, Mike.
Ooh, strong, very strong choices.
This is a Miami show, so whatever we got to do to represent the 305, we're going to wear that.
Dale.
This is 305. It's not 954. If Broward is in 954.
No, sagazo, right? See, 305 is moving north. They're going to have to change that area code up there pretty soon.
So, hey, we got the draft coming up, guys.
Finally. We need football, man. With everything going on in the world right now, we need some football.
This is going to be weird, man, because a lot of guys didn't play last year. So this is like the first time where you got a lot of guys that just didn't play last year. You got, I think, Jamar Chase is one of them.
Yep.
Panay Sewell, a lot of guys at the top.
So what do you guys think this year? Should the Dolphins go with need, or should they go with who the best available at their pick?
Man, when you're picking so high in the draft like that, it's hard to pass on real blue chip players, real difference makers, regardless of their position, whether it be the tight end, the receiver, even another quarterback. Because if you're a good team, even if you're a middle of the road team, you're not picking this high often. So it's hard. Me personally, I'm a best available guy. I want the studs. I want the blue chip guys, the Pro Bowl guys. That's what I'm looking for.
What do you say, Vic?
Yeah, I would agree. This is one of the drafts where I'm the most excited in a long time for a Dolphins draft, because they have I think they did a great job with the trades, and I don't think on this pick, I don't see them picking offensive line with Panay Sewell. That is one of the players that did opt out. I think they're probably going to go with one of the skilled players to help Tua, because how can you really assess how he did last season where he just came off the major hip surgery and everything? So I think they're going to probably try to load up on some skilled players to help Tua, to really give him a good evaluation of where he's going to go if he's going to take the Dolphins to that next level.
Cool. Gus, what do you have to say?
It's not very often you go 10-6 and pick in the top half of the first, top 10 picks. That never happens.
Right.
I think to make the most of it, I agree. You got to take the best player available. You just owe it to yourself to just get a stud. No matter where you pick him, if he's an improvement, it's going to help the team overall. Whether that's a playmaker or a lineman, whichever way you go. It's just I don't think you can lose by taking a good player.
First of all, clean your room.
And shave. And you got to shave. It's time. Come on.
Y un pelado, wouldn't be too bad either. Pero te parece Grizzly Adams ahí.
No, I thought that was his hat.
No, that's
no.
Oh.
That's his hair.
That's that new style Scully that they got out there. No, I was gonna say that Gus brought up a good point with the going 10-6 and then the Dolphins picking up in the top 10. I mean, that's got to give Chris Greer his credit there. I mean, he's caught a lot of flack for a lot of years because he's the one guy who's been involved in the organization. He's got to be the longest tenured administrator in that organization because he's been here forever.
Yeah. And
he's always kind of gotten the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't been the guy. He hasn't been the one actually pulling the trigger on the picks and the trades. And man, since he's got the job, I mean, he made the big Tunsil trade that seems like that tree just keeps bearing fruit. You trade Tunsil, you get last year, we got a first and a second from that pick. This year we have another first and a second, and our first turns out to be the number 3 overall pick, which then get flips again for more picks in the future. Now he's got to do he's got to do a good job of picking the right players now. But I mean, man, he's got to give him some credit. He's definitely put the team in a good position. That's for sure.
Well, they're definitely an overachieving team. I mean, the last couple of years, 2 years ago when Flores first took over, they were supposed to go 1-15 and then ended up winning 5-6 games.
Right.
And last year they won 10 games and still missed the playoffs. So this is, I mean, the coaching staff and the general manager, I think, have done a great job. Here's an interesting fact. Miami only has, since 2011, they only have one first round pick still on the team, and that's Devontae Parker. Every other first rounder they've had that's still in the league isn't with the Dolphins anymore. So, I mean, they haven't had a good track record of keeping first rounders. I mean, either through trade, like Minka Fitzpatrick, or el lineman ese que,
you mean the MVP of this coming season?
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil.
he is going to be Miami's MVP.
Yes,
this season.
Miami stumbled onto him with a draft day slide, because remember, he was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and he got busted, smoking weed, and then all of a sudden he fell to us in what, 11, 12, 13, something like that. So, but yeah, vamos a ver.
Bueno, vamos a ver. Let's go. Let's move it on. Let's go to the first pick. You're the Miami Dolphins. You're on the board. Let's say, let's set the scenario here, because I mean, no one really knows who's going to fall to 6. I mean, are you going to go Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Sewell? A lot of the mock drafts I've seen have the Falcons taking Pitts and Cincinnati switching between Jamar Chase and Sewell. So for this, let's say, in all intents and purposes, I think most Miami fans want to see Chase or Pitts with the first pick. Let's say they're both gone. What do you do? Vic?
I would say I'm probably looking at another draft day trade, probably with the Broncos. Maybe the Broncos might want to move up ahead of Detroit and maybe move down to the Broncos, either the 9th or the 10th pick. I would not be surprised on draft day. That's where I think they would go if Chase and Pitts are gone.
Really? And don't forget that you can also put the Chargers in there. I've heard that Justin Herbert has been lobbying to get Sewell.
Yeah,
they played together, so you can have a couple teams wanting to move up to get a quarterback. That's possible. Gus, what do you think?
I stay put and take the best player available. I don't know what the Dolphins draft board looks like, but I'm sure they've got theirs listed out like every other team does. And if the next best guy they think in this draft is Sewell, I take him. If they think it's Waddle, which could very well be, I'd take him.
I know Mike's pick is going to be controversial, so I'm going to go first real quick. I say Sewell all day long. I think you need to give Tua the best possible protection, and it'll also open up the running game. I think this draft is deep in wide receivers and runners. So I think you build that line around Tua, and you can pick up a number of receivers or Najee Harris later on. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I think Kyle Pitts is definitely one of those difference maker type guys. I know Jamar Chase, he's a great receiver, man. I mean, he did in a lot of those highlights you watch of him. I mean, it seems like he really made Joe Burrow look good. Pitts to me is a little bit of a different animal, but if it's between, if I got Jamar Chase sitting there at 6, for me, the big thing is if there's a quarterback. If there's a quarterback still there at 6, then I'm moving. I'm trying to move back. I want to move back, and then, like Vic said, Denver is a sweet spot because you're still top 10, and then I think they'll have the opportunity to take what a lot of people consider the best defensive player in the draft, which would be Micah Parsons. And I know it's not the sexy name, it's not the popular name down here. Everybody wants offense. We want receivers, we want touchdowns, we want to see Tua ball. But that team is kind of cutting their teeth on defense. And you know what, man? I just want to see wins. I want to get the Dolphins back in the playoffs. And if we got to win games 10-6, 13-3, I'm cool. Let's be dominant on one side of the ball. And I think they're a lot closer defensively than they are offensively. And that's, I think, having a good defense like that's going to keep other offenses in check. It's going to help Tua's development because now you can rely on a running game a little bit more. And you don't have to put everything on his shoulders right now, So I'm a Parsons guy. I'm a big fan. I think the kid's he's a stud. He's a stud. I mean, he goes sideline to sideline. He's a maniac, and he seems like he would fit that Brian Flores style defense. So that's my guy.
All right. Well, for the first time, I'm gonna give you the come on, bro. What are you thinking, bro? Miami Dolphins defense last year held that team together. So, I mean, I understand we lost Kyle Van Noy and they lost el otro tipo ese, Shaq Lawson. Pero, I mean, this guy is a defensive-minded team. It's a defensive-minded team, and the defense comes first. And I get it. That guy is a great linebacker. Pero, coño, bro, if anybody needs help, it's the offense. And if you got a guy like Pitts, who's a generational type tight end, you got to go with him.
I give you that. That's why I said Pitts is one of those guys. If Pitts is there, I have a hard time not taking him. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be there. I have a feeling maybe Atlanta might jump on him. I think they're going to try to milk a couple more years out of Matt Ryan and just give him as many weapons as possible. But now if he's there, then yeah, I got to admit, if Pitts is there at 6, then he's my pick. But if they're so in love with Pitts, why get out of 3 in the first place? Stay at 3 and pick the guy and move on.
I totally agree there, because to me, they moved back because they're not super set on one particular player. I think they have a handful of players that they think will be there, maybe 3 or 4, and they're going to be happy taking any of those 3 guys. We don't know who those 3 guys are, and Parsons could very well be one of them. It's just they're playing a numbers game. That's why they moved back.
Dime, Vic, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Alex, the only thing about the offensive line, and I think that's the reason why I'm just so excited about this draft. I have a feeling that whatever the Dolphins do, we're probably going to say, okay, all right, I like it, because there's just so many choices. The only thing about the offensive line is they picked 3 offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds last year. And so if they get Sewell, what does that say? Is it an indictment that they're not really that happy with these 2 rookie offensive linemen that they just picked up last year? They didn't have a full off season to practice. They're supposed to be studs. The first pick, Jackson, is like 21 years old. So I just don't see them picking up when they already got 3 offensive linemen. They picked up another offensive lineman in this offseason and free agency. With all of these skilled players, I just think it's going to be too tempting to not pick one of these stud skilled players, because that's what Tua needs, is a chance to have some weapons. Last year, they had no wide receivers. They had no running backs. Gesicki played at a Pro Bowl level. So if you put Gesicki and Pitts, yeah, I see that dynamic. But I just see them picking up a wide receiver.
All right, so let's say for the sake of argument, Chase and Pitts are both gone with the 6th pick. Miami trades back to number, let's say 9. Was that Denver or?
Denver, yep.
And so it's between Waddle and Devontae Smith. Who do you got?
Ted Jr.? Who, Ted Jr.? Is that who you? Waddle. Sorry, I got confused with top 10 guy who's a great return guy.
Who would be your second receiver, or like your next choice for receiver at that point?
What do you got?
Let me tell you, I saw both highlights. Jalen Waddle, everybody wants to get the next Tyreek Hill. He's got the skill set. What were his stats last year? How did he do last year?
He was hurt a lot of last year. He suffered a high ankle sprain.
Okay. So he was hurt. So he didn't run.
Fish on, took it hook, line, and sinker. I saw what you did there. It's all right. That it's no knock on him. Everybody gets hurt. This is a tough game, but I see it. I see he is fast, twitchy. Take it to the house. So you can do a lot with him. So I can see that. Devontae Smith is more silky smooth. He's sneaky fast. The highlights, I'm telling you, he reminds me a lot, and I'm dating myself, being a long-suffering Vikings fan, but he reminds me of Anthony Carter. Very long, tough, man. He made a lot of contested catches, and he looks like a long strider, like very smooth, and it looks like a video game. Like everybody's kind of going slow, and he's just kind of like just passing them up. So I like what I do like about both. If they get Waddle, let's say at 10, I wouldn't be unhappy, because if you can get Tua, somebody that can just, dink and dunk, Tua's not this 70-yard bomb thrower, but if you can get these guys in space, I'll be happy with the both of them. I just have a soft spot for Devontae Smith, because
He came back for his senior season. He was the man. He was the targeted guy in Alabama, and he just, took some tough hits in the SEC. So I would lean towards Smith just because he's a football player.
Gus,
question.
go ahead.
Let me ask you, how many catches did Devonta Smith have in the second half of the national championship game?
Oh, you got me there. I didn't see the game.
He was hurt. He had none.
Oh, but
So-
this was after he scored 3 touchdowns, right?
Oh, totally agree. But I'm just saying, he's
After he won the Heisman, he got hurt.
I think he's a great player. My worry with him is he's 166 pounds in the NFL, where they're a lot bigger, and he's not going to be playing with the same. He's not playing with 4 other first-round wide receivers. Like, yeah, he's getting all the targets, but maybe it's the other guys getting the attention. That's what's so hard to gauge about that Alabama offense. It's so loaded that how do you know who they're game planning against?
Yeah, Waddle's 5'10", 180 on paper. So, I mean, Tyreek Hill is not 180, so football players are football players. But I get it. There's no wrong answer, really.
No.
I think we're splitting hairs.
See, I got to agree with Gus. I do not like Devonta Smith, especially in the first round at 160 pounds. If you watch the Alabama games, there's nobody at the line, bumping him at the line. Everyone's standing eight yards back from him. But when you get to the NFL and you're playing those cornerbacks that are going to line up right in front of you, is he going to be able to get off the line?
Well, that's a scheme thing. That's a scheme thing, because that's very easy to do. Because I mean, the Patriots did it for years. I mean, they hid tiny little guys like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. They put them in the slot, moved them around the formation to where the defense now can't walk up on them and bump them. And I mean, I'm on the Devonta Smith bandwagon. Also, I think the kid's a football player. I mean, obviously, Al, you and I, we spoke, a couple years back. So you know my love affair with Tua. I've loved Tua for a couple years now, and it always seems like Devonta Smith was always the guy making the plays when I'd watch those Alabama games, even when they had Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, and those guys were high-profile, top draft picks. But even playing with those guys, Devonta Smith made plays, and like to what Gus was saying, maybe other teams were scheming against the top 2 guys, but now Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs are in the NFL, and Devonta Smith has a record-breaking season, a Heisman-winning season for a receiver, which hasn't been done since what? Desmond Howard was the last one?
Michigan.
In far fewer games too.
And in much fewer games, So and then he plays a national championship.
Bro, but he's also playing when Chase isn't playing. He's playing when half the league isn't playing.
But he played the SEC schedule, which all those guys played. Right. He played against the South Carolina kid.
Jamar Chase is LSU. He's SEC, and he didn't play.
So that's on him.
But I'm saying, but you say, oh, he won the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, when you thin out the herd, it made it a little bit easier. I just don't like the fact that he weighs 166 in the NFL with these huge guys that are. I mean, you're not playing. You're playing the best of the best of all the top 1% of all collegiate players, as opposed to playing in Alabama. When you're playing, you are playing LSU, you're playing Florida, you're playing Tennessee, which are really good schools. But then what? The level drops off significantly at the college level.
No, you're right. They are playing in the NFL. It's the top 1%. There's no doubt about that. But like Vic's saying, man, football players are football players, man. That guy can only do with the people who are put in front of him. And he was able to do it for multiple years in a tough conference. And he just always seemed to make plays. And plus, you got rule changes in the NFL, man. These guys can't mug receivers like they used to. I mean, we had our Pat Surtains and Sam Madisons out there. I mean, bro, they were tackling receivers 20 yards down the field and making Pro Bowls doing it. So, I'm on his bandwagon too.
That's something else about Devonta Smith that I noticed from the highlights. And of course, you're going to see the best plays because they're highlights, right? But he made a lot of contested catches. And you're not going to have the space that you got in college, like Alex was saying and Gus was saying. There's a lot of space, but there's a lot of contested throws now. The throwing windows that Tua's going to have is not there like it was in college. And man, he just made a lot of contested catches. tough kid. And I just don't think that just by looking at the measurables in terms of height and weight to measure a football player is football player. Zach Thomas was 5'11", 215.
Okay, I have a question for you though. Let me ask you this: Miami's go-to play with first and goal was that little corner fade in the end zone. Will Devontae Smith make that catch?
Oh, I think so. If not, they're going to throw it to Jazicki. I mean,
they got three other big receivers. Sorry to cut you off there, Vic, but they have three other monster receivers they can do it to.
Right, but none of them did it last year. How many times did they miss a touchdown pass and a fade in the corner because he just couldn't make that catch?
There's a couple. There were a couple.
They hit a lot of them.
Collins made some nice contested catches. Jazicki. There was another tall tight end. That's all they had to throw.
Smythe.
Right. That's all. Those are the only folks they had to throw to. You know. So again, I would not be upset if we get Waddle. Game-changing speed. You know, throw it to him in space. I'm good with it. But it's just, again, it's splitting hairs.
Dale, moving on to the 18th pick of the draft. We got 2 in the first round. Last year, I think they had, 3 in the first round?
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, a big ups to this front office that at least are putting them in a position to get good players. What do you do with the 18th pick? What are you searching for at that point? Gus?
Then I started looking at some of our needs, although you don't know who's going to fall that way from. Maybe there's a guy that's supposed to be there in the top 10 that didn't get drafted. You know, maybe he's the best player available. I think I weigh it then. You know,
that's true. Some people slide, and then you're like,
slide, man.
Whoa, he's available. Now you got to take him.
That's exactly what happened with Tunsil. You know,
right.
You never know who's going to slide to you.
Yep.
But you got to, we have holes that I'm sure you want to start looking at. You know, there's the mix. You can go with an edge rusher, depending on who's there. You can go with a running back. You can go with one of the wide receivers. One of the Bama guys falls. You never know.
Yeah.
All right.
You know who might slide? Parsons.
Yeah. He might.
I'm just reading. You know, of course, like all these pundits. They probably know as much as we do. Okay, you know, so who knows? There's a lot of smoke screen out there, but there's some character issues, with Parsons is what I read. If he slides at 18, I jump right on Parsons.
I'd be good with that.
Well, yeah, you were willing to pick him up at 6, so I would assume.
Well, yeah, we didn't get him at 6, but no. Well, hold on. Now I get my turn. Now I get my turn.
Go,
because I already took my dog at 6, and I got my middle linebacker for the next 10 years, who's going to make 10 Pro Bowls. I'm gonna get that big horse from Alabama, bro, and I'm gonna run the ball. I'm gonna go get Najee Harris at 18.
Najee Harrison.
And we're gonna play defense, and we're gonna run the ball. I mean, if you go back to the Super Bowl, listen, Kansas City is a beautiful team. That team, they score points, they're sexy, they're flashy. You know what happened when they played against guys who can rush the quarterback and hit people? Nothing. They crumbled. I still think in this game, man, yeah, it's a passing game. It's an offensive-oriented game nowadays with the rules. But I still think that defense and a strong running game wins championships. I mean, shit, bro. Look at Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill all of a sudden is a Pro Bowl quarterback because the guy has a freaking running game. Get out of here. Give me a running back.
Yeah, and they had no running backs last year, and Harris is a dog. He's a dog. Again, I think he fits into Flores's mindset. That young man drove 9 hours just to support his teammates. At the pro day. He would be someone that 225 pounds, big man.
I saw him working out with AP, with Adrian Peterson, and they're that same build.
Yeah.
And some people are put off by that. Running backs taller than 6 feet tall. Some people aren't a fan, but I mean, it's hard to argue against. You see him playing against. He's a man amongst boys in college. He's like Henry was. Henry was just a grown ass man.
I don't like that name. He's burned me too many times in fantasy. So please don't compare Najee Harris to Derrick Henry.
I just mean physically.
That's a sore spot for me.
Yeah, I'm hoping Najee Harris is there at 18. I agree with you guys. That's why I wanted to go with Sewell first to
Open up
shore up a line that they can open up holes and let him do the rest. But also Parsons there at 18, which I doubt he's going to slide that far down. I mean, you're talking about probably the best defensive player. Maybe Patrick Surtain Jr. is up there as the top defensive player in college. But yeah, I'm gonna go with I like Najee Harris, and I don't think he's gonna be there in the second round. So I'd like to, and I'd hate for the Jets to get him because we all hate
Right.
Jets.
Right.
Now, moving on, we're gonna move on to the second round. Coño, we got one pick in the second round at 50. What do you got?
And don't forget about 36.
Yeah.
Oh, 36. Sorry.
Yeah, we got 36.
That's a
That's
good
right. I
one.
got you back. I got you back.
Thanks, dog. I appreciate that.
They got the top 4 picks in the first 50. I
Yep.
mean, they just set themselves up pretty.
Hey, Al, you got anything on our UM boys? We haven't
You know,
we
I
haven't fired
was
those guys up yet.
we talked about Rousseau earlier this week, you and I, and you don't seem to like him very much.
Nah, I hate to say it because I'm UM through and through, but I wouldn't. He's scary to me. He's scary to me investing a high draft pick in him. Now, if for whatever crazy reason he slips to the second round, then sure, take a shot. But yeah, man, first round is rich. That's a rich pick for that guy. I mean, watching the games, you get excited when he makes a play, right? But then when you go back and watch it later on, you watch the highlights, man, he made a lot of plays where there were other players on defense that kind of funneled the action his way. And he just like stumbled onto the guy, like the guy ran into his arms. A lot of his sacks were like that 2 years ago. So I don't know. I'm scared of him. Curious to hear what Vic and Gus have.
Yeah, Vic, what do you got on that?
I would agree because Rousseau, to me, let's compare him and Phillips. Rousseau is not like, let's say, a Cameron Wake type of edge rusher. He's not full on 100% effort. Shows different moves. He is rangy. He's very athletic, but he doesn't have that smoke coming out of his ears as he's trying to get to the quarterback. Phillips is 100% effort. He has more to his repertoire. And I would agree. I need to see more. If I'm going to draft in the first round, I need to see more than just one good season. And then again, opting out. Opting out, you just, and I don't question anybody for opting out. They all have their reasons. So I can't speculate. But part of the drawback of opting out is you create questions. You don't give a hefty amount of game film for the general managers and the coaches and the scouts to look at.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you think he opted out? Do you think a lot of these players opted out because he had a good season? And he's like, you know what? That's good enough for me, dog. I'm gonna sit this one out.
Yep.
Before
And
this
100%.
season, he was considered the #1 edge rusher in this class. It was like hands down. And they tell him that you're gonna play, risk injury, you're gonna risk looking bad. Like you had a lot to risk.
Yep. No, I wouldn't doubt it. That's a good point. Who knows what's in his mindset, but I can see him doing that, investing, and say, look, I'm not going to take a chance. But I think also general managers see that too. And looking at from what we see as far as Brian Flores' makeup, I wonder if he sees that as he's looking at football players, man. They just want to play. I don't know. That's how I see Flores. I old school.
What worries me about him taking that year off is that when they did the pro day at UM, he was next to Jalen Phillips and Quincy Roche, and that guy did not look good. He looked out of shape compared to those other two guys. And I know that Phillips is that guy's freakishly athletic, but he shouldn't have looked that bad. So
you're
did he
right.
take time off? Was he sitting on his ass? I don't know.
I mean, even if he trained, he could have trained the whole time he was off, but playing football and training for football are two different animals.
Yeah, it's not football
because now
shape.
when you're playing game week after week after week, there's a lot of stuff you got to deal with, a lot of, bumps and bruises and little pulls and little aches and pains. And he chose not to go that route. So, which for him, hey man, thumbs up, dude. I mean, someone's gonna pick him. He's gonna get picked in the first round, and he's gonna get paid. So it's hard to argue with his decision. But yeah, I agree with Vic, man. And I see Flores in that mold, and he says as much. He says they want football players. They want guys who love the game. Sure, they're gonna make a lot of money doing it, but I think there are guys out there who just play. I mean, look at Brady. Brady's one of those guys. He just loves to play. You can't get rid of that. The guy doesn't need another penny.
But
I have a question. Are you guys sharing the same tiki hut? I'm curious about it. Are you guys sitting across from each other? Is that what's going on?
No.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Wow, you guys are looking in the completely different directions.
I had a 50-50 chance, and I got it wrong.
Damn
You
it.
look the other way.
Messed
Actually, Mike looked this way and you look the other way. Now, really quick, what about our boy Masvidal?
Oh, man.
That was a tough one.
Mike and I were talking about it earlier today. He was, and I hate to see that when you're watching the fighters coming in and he's all cocky and he's mouthing off and all that. And, this champion, this guy hasn't lost in 20 something fights, and so I saw him as they were boxing, he had that left hand down, and he's kind of like it looks like he was just sparring, fooling around with his friend, that kind of stuff. And he just left himself open for that right hand. It was just, he's never been knocked out, and he was out before his head hit the canvas.
Yeah, that shit was brutal. I saw that and I felt bad, man. He's one of our own.
Yeah. No, we were devastated. Like, he represents 305,
He's been evicted. He's going up to the 561 area code. We're sending him up to Palm Beach for that performance.
I se lo manda para 407, para Orlando, para que no vaya arriba. No, I mean, I just hope that he's gonna have to probably gonna take some time off. And
yeah, he's 36 years old, man. I don't know.
He's been at it for a while. I mean, in the first fight, he looked great. I mean, for what it was, off of 6 days, had to shed 20 pounds in 6 days, and he held his own.
Right. I thought I said the guy took the fight in 7 days. He lasted all 5 rounds. So I thought this guy is he's never been knocked out. He's had all these weeks to train. And for him to go like that in the second round, I just think he got a little too cocky.
It makes you think, where's his head at? Usman looks like he trained for this fight and he was focused and he came prepared.
Well, no, he also said he thought he was going to go to the ground. He thought that that Usman was going to take him to the ground and he was going to stay there. And I think he was just kind of toying with him up, on his feet. You see him smiling. But oh man, the guy's great, and I wouldn't fight him. So if I saw him on the street, I'd cross the street. Fuck that. But they had other great fights. Did you see the Chris Weidman fight? Bro, what are the chances?
Poor guy.
That the same thing he did to Silva would happen to him. Bro, and that's a freak.
Wow, that's right. I didn't even think of that. That happened to Anderson Silva when he fought him. Same exact thing. Wow, that's crazy.
Thing. Bro, oye, ese el tremendo brujería que le metieron a Chris Weidman.
Yep. All los santeros came out there, man.
Oye, lo que le hace falta ahora es un despojo.
Aside from a couple pins in his leg.
Yeah.
When you see the replay, he didn't know he did what he did, because when you see the replay, you see him trying to put his foot down, and when that happens where his toes touched his shin, and then you see him go and going down. It's like that. Wow, that's not natural to tickle your toes, to your shin like that.
Oh no, and después you see him on the stretcher, and he is in agony.
Yeah.
In agony. Did you guys see the fight? Was it the fight before that where the guy got kicked in the knee?
Yes.
And his knee just buckled on him. Bro, let me tell you something. That UFC 261 was one of the best I've ever seen.
It was very entertaining, man. It was very entertaining, that's for sure.
I don't think any of them went to decision, did they?
You see how many times Joe Rogan was like,
Oh. You know, that's
Must
gonna
have
be a
done
new
it like
meme.
4 times.
That's gonna be the new meme now on the
Right.
internet.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually one of the better parts of all the fights. Every time they would show the announcer's reaction to something that happened out there.
Yeah.
They're gonna have no, and that girl Thug Rose, that was something.
She caught her, man. She got her good. I mean, the other chick came in with all the accolades. Y esta chiquita Rose just well, caught her on the button, knocked her out. And my favorite part of that whole fight was when they announced the Chinese girl, the
And everybody
entire city
booed.
of Jacksonville booing her at the exact same time.
Yeah,
Wait,
she was cocky like Masvidal. Same thing. She comes in there and she's 21 straight fights. So she's coming in and and then Rose is just sitting there, just constant, just focus. And she kept on saying to herself, I'm the best, I can do this. And wow, what a great kick. Did you notice on that kick? It looks like as if because it was so fast. She goes to kick and it seems as if I think her last name is she thought that she was going to get hit in the legs. So
Right.
She goes back with the legs and her head was like this, exposed, and just took it right to the chin. That was masterful.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed she kind of like her hips go back.
Yes.
And she left her chin out, and she got caught in the chin or in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was a great UFC card. I don't think. But going real quick, and before we go back to football, you were talking about like she came in, kind of dancing. So did Masvidal. But Amina, the guy that kicked the other guy in the leg that hurt his knee, he came in dancing too. I mean, I think the process is different for everybody. Some people are a little more relaxed and they kind of need that kind of, and other people need to feel more focused.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So it just depends. I mean, if you go back to the days of Muhammad Ali, that guy talked trash before, during, and after the fight. And
Right.
And that's why you loved him. It's the same thing with Masvidal. You buy in on the guy on his personality. He's very 305.
It's
as
show
305 as it
business.
gets.
I mean, who's he going to fight next? Is he going to go up in weight class? Is he just going to take some time off?
I thought it was odd yesterday when they showed the rankings right before the fight started. He was ranked as the fourth fighter. There were 2 or 3 other fighters ranked ahead of him. So I thought that was odd that they gave him. I mean, he sells, right? I mean, that's why I watched it.
I thought it was that they were making it up to him because he came in the last minute and fought him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's the money fight. It was the money fight right now for Usman.
I agree.
They were both talking shit. The last fight was kind of, wasn't too exciting. And yeah, of course they're going to give it to him. I would too. Anyway, let's move back to football, the 305 football. Now we're getting into the later rounds. What are the holes that are most in need to fill right now? And where do you think the Dolphins are set? Gus?
I think we got holes at edge rusher. I think that's the biggest hole. We got hole. I don't want to say receivers a hole, but there's room for improvement there. I think we got a hole at center. And I think like a top of the guy at the running back chart. Because I think we got a bunch of 2s and 3s at running back, but we don't have a workhorse guy.
Mike, what do you think?
I think Gus nailed it. I mean, edge, we definitely need another edge rusher, whether that comes in the form of a down lineman, big guy like a Jalen Phillips or Kwity Paye from Michigan or something like that, or I don't know, one of these other guys in the later rounds. But we definitely need a guy on the edge. Receiver, I don't know. I know receiver's the sexy talking point because of the way the season ended last year. Right. But with these guys coming back, if Devontae Parker can stay healthy for once, Preston Williams still hasn't been able to stay healthy. You got Albert Wilson coming back as a slot guy, which I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking. He's a nice little player in the slot. Definitely center. Miami definitely needs to go out and try to get a young center. And running back, and I think we do need to get more athletic at the linebacker position. I think our linebackers are slow, man. They're slow. I mean, last year our defense did great. Me personally, I think a lot of that has to do with how well our DBs played. and the fact that we had probably the easiest strength of schedule because we got to play the Jets twice, and that's, doesn't get easier than that. Those losers, they can't do anything right. But yeah, man, I mean, I would say edge, center, running back, linebacker. I would like to see him get more athletic also. And then, if we can grab a receiver, there's a couple of little receivers I like that, they could probably get in the second, third round that are pretty scrappy guys.
A lot of depth there.
Demon Vic, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Mike's right. Gus nailed it. I think for the edge rusher, Miami's probably going to look for a scheme fit. They're probably going to look at not maybe a 3-point stance edge rusher. Will probably be a more Willie McGinnis type player. Again, with Coach Flores coming from the New England camp, they like those versatile players that can rush the quarterback or step back and cover a back out of the backfield or a tight end.
Nice. I've been thinking about this all week long. I wouldn't be upset if they picked up another quarterback.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'll see why you wouldn't.
I mean, right now they don't. Their backup now is
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if they found that Tom Brady type 6th
Developmental.
a guy that they develop after Tua.
Yeah, Mike and I always say that every year, draft a quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take them every year. You never know, man. You may find that diamond in the rough, that Tom Brady type. I mean, I would even take if they have so many picks in this year in the next couple of drafts that they may even be able to afford a 3rd round guy. Hey, go get a developmental guy. Now with Brissett's a good backup, so he's definitely making the team. I don't know, depending on how they structure the roster, if they'll be able to carry 3 active quarterbacks. So if they do invest a 3rd round pick or something, 4th, whatever, on a quarterback, and they got to put them on the practice squad. Once they're on the practice squad, they're fair game to any team as long as they put them on the active roster. So it may be a risk, but I agree, man. Just, take a guy. Take it. You never know. You might get lucky.
Oh yeah, Vic, as the elder statesman in this conversation.
With the emphasis on elder.
Estamos viejos, ya eso.
Rough.
Let me ask you, do you remember who was a quarterback that Brady replaced in New England?
Bledsoe.
Are we throwing softballs here? Is this a softball game? I know we're
Well, what I'm saying is Drew Bledsoe wasn't he the number 1 pick of the New England Patriots?
He was.
That guy was but the Patriots picked up Brady in the 6th round. And Mira, who's going to make it to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. I mean, but the way that Brady got on, it was through, it was the injury bug, right? Drew Bledsoe got the hurt neck. And so it gave Tom Brady a chance to play and show what he had. And he just never relinquished that role. I mean, it was the same thing that happened with what's the name of the Yankees player that he became the Iron Man, and he took over for Wally Pipp. See, I'm now the elder statesman.
Woo. Okay. Now we're throwing fastballs. Now we got fastballs coming.
Now we got fastballs. Lou Gehrig ended up before Cal Ripken. He had the most games played, straight, and he took over for an injured Wally Pipp, who was at the time considered an all-pro, player, and he never relinquished it. So it's a matter of giving somebody a chance to play. But Tua, if you're going to have these question marks about Tua, that's the only reason why I'm kind of iffy if they're going to do it, because then what does that say, about how do they feel about Tua's prospects in the future? But if you can get like a Kyle Trask, in the 2nd round, that's a nice player. And who knows if, you start generating some buzz, do another New England swap, where they end up getting that backup quarterback and they'll end up picking up a 1st round like they always do.
Exactly what I was thinking. New England did it twice. They did it with Matt Castle and they did it with Garoppolo. Yep. They drafted these guys fairly high, 2nd, 3rd round, and then they flipped them both for 1st round picks later on down the line. So
Yeah,
I think it's a good strategy.
I think it's doable when you have Tom Brady on your roster and he covers up so many holes. But I don't think Tua is at that stage right now where he can carry the team and the draft capital, the draft cost of a highly ranked quarterback. Like I get a guy in the 5th, 6th round, maybe the 4th. But to take a guy in the 2nd round when you could get him an offensive lineman that'll help keep him up, or a wide receiver, or a good defensive player, like 2nd round is high for a backup for the guy who you're hoping sits the bench.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it is a high pick, but it's at the end of the day, it's still a crapshoot. I mean, go back and look. I mean, Miami's history in the 2nd round is pretty gross when you look at some of the 2nd round picks that they've made over the years.
You didn't like Pat White?
You didn't like Pat White? Hey,
I mean, I said.
Oh, wow. Wow, that was in sync. Are you guys in the same room?
No.
What's going on here?
Oh, by the way, I got a tiki hut right behind me. Hold on.
So I mean, yeah, the 2nd round is high, and that is, I guess they go into the draft thinking their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round guys are all going to be contributors that year. But I could see it. I could see it and say, hey, if you're not sure on this guy and you got a lukewarm feeling about one of these quarterbacks who slipped through the cracks, take a shot, because if you don't have a quarterback, I mean, you're 8-8, or I guess now, what are we going now? What's the new schedule? Vic, you had a good one for this the other day, no?
Yeah, 9-8. I came out. But I say to Gus's point, let's win a couple pennants before we start choosing 2nd round quarterbacks. Let's win a couple of division titles first, because that's what New England had that draft capital where they were just winning titles year in and year out. They had Tom Brady, and so they could afford to do something like that. So yeah. Let's win some titles first before we start drafting a quarterback that high.
Oh, what? Miami's not going to the Super Bowl this year?
Only if they buy tickets. Anyway. All right. So for the final segment, is there a guy, a diamond in the rough, a guy that you see that could probably go late 4th, 5th, even the 6th round, that could be a difference maker for the Dolphin organization? Who would that be? Who wants to go first?
I want to go last because I already got my guy ready to go. Man. No pressure, guys.
No, the one that I was talking to Mike about is I think he's from Missouri, Rondale Moore. He's a smallish wide receiver, super, super fast playmaker, but there is questions about his size. But again, you watch him play, you watch his highlights, and he's electric. So that would be, maybe if he's available there in the 4th round, I'd take him.
Who do you have, Gus? Do you have anybody?
How late are we talking? I think one guy I would like to see, and this one rule, and I think that this goes with the Flores mentality, is you can never have enough corners. So I would not be shocked if they took a corner in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And a guy I like is Asante Samuel Jr.
Oh yeah.
I think the guy's got good lineage. I know he played on a crappy FSU team and it looked terrible, but FSU has always been able to recruit from the fertile grounds of South Florida from 305, so I believe there's more talent on there than he was allowed to showcase on the field at FSU. And I would not mind seeing the Dolphins pick up a guy like that in the middle rounds.
Interesting. Right.
And Xavier Howard is, his last year, there is some question mark about the.
Yep. Will he be here next year?
Talks.
Yeah, but that's why you drafted the Noah Igbogiani guy.
Yeah.
To eventually replace probably Xavier Howard. I mean, you also have Byron Jones, who, so I don't know if I'd go with another. I mean, I guess you could, especially if he's the best player on the board at that time. I could see that. Mike, who do you have?
All right. So with my sleeper pick at the bottom of the draft, I'm taking Mr. Automatic, the first kicker that's actually been somewhat consistent throughout, and not just consistent. That guy was lights out, cold-blooded assassin, made everything. Jose Borregales. Let's go get that kid at the end of the draft and let him kick, man. The kid is awesome. He's got a great leg. He's a local kid, and shit, he was my favorite player for last year. So
wasn't the field goal kicker for the Dolphins the only one that made the Pro Bowl?
I was about to say that. I was like, wait, the only one of the brightest spots in Miami Dolphins is their kicker.
Oye, pero el tipo no es cubano, bro. Eso, sácalo de
ahí. Just give him a big extension too.
I've always thought for the longest time that each city can only draft players from their city.
Right. Oh, it would be unfair, bro.
It wouldn't be fair. It
wouldn't
be fair. Nope.
Well, guys, I think we've come to the end. I think we had a Vic. How are you feeling, buddy? I know you.
I'm hyped, bro. I had a great time, man. You guys brought it, man. I had a really good time. I didn't know what to expect since I've never done this, and I think we fed off each other. I think it was great, man. It was a great experience.
Yeah, man. We texted a little bit, or we messaged each other, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this kind of like
no pressure."
And you're like, "Oh yeah, no pressure." I'm like, "Yeah, no pressure." And so I'm glad I thought you guys did great. I thought we had a great time. I hope people enjoyed it. I hope our sponsors, Varadero, come back and support our cause.
Yes, and don't forget Herradura Tequila. They were also one of our sponsors for today. So.
And Goya, don't forget Goya.
And Goya, of course.
We got
Sazón.
All right, guys. Maybe next week after the draft, we'll do a little first and bro. We're fourth and bro or first and bro? What do you like better?
First and bro. No, first down, bro. We get first downs on this team. Come on.
First and Flor de Violeta.
I love it. Maybe next week after the draft, we'll do a little bit draft analysis next Sunday.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm sure there'll be some surprises, and see a lot of these teams, man, they always come up, and they'll end up like Chris Dudley or something, in the top 5. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm curious to see somebody. I think somebody's gonna jump up to one of the top 5 spots.
They're gonna
I'm curious. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna see a lot of quarterbacks go, and I'm actually curious to see if the Falcons go with Pitts when Matt Ryan's due $30 million next year.
The cap is even worse.
It's gonna be interesting, man. There's gonna be a lot of action in this draft. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
The Bengals are gonna try to protect Joe Burrow with their first pick with Sewell. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to. Maybe we'll do a little live Twitch for the draft. What do you guys think? You guys know what Twitch TV? Am I the only fucking millennial here?
I think so. Last night I heard one of the UFC fighters talk about Twitch, and Lauren and I looked at each other like, "What's Twitch? I don't know. Never heard of that one."
All right, boomers.
Hey, that was fun, man. Good job. I enjoyed that.
Of Mike, Vic, Gus, and me, thank you guys for watching, and tune in next week, and we'll see what happens. See ya.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Go Fins.
Thanks, guys.
Boom.
Cut.